I received this nice Art Deco 8-day Junghans Westminster mantle clock for servicing. It was recently acquired by its current owner through an online auction. It's a nice looking clock. Case is in exceptional condition. Nice original finish. Not sure what these numbers represent on the bottom of the case. The minute hand has some dark stains on it. I'll see about removing them later. Nice Junghans badge. Any attempt to restore the yellowed lacquer finish on the silvered number track will remove this original made in Germany stamp. The original lacquer finish on the wood case has hairline cracks on all surfaces. Up close, pits and scratches start to appear on the surface of the number track itself. Lacquer on the number track here is wrinkled and starting to disbond. Once the lacquer is gone, the silver will tarnish to a black color. Under magnification, you can see the cracked lacquer is starting to lift away from the wood surface. Remove the hands. The minute hand has lost part of its protective lacquered finish in areas. Where the lacquer is missing, the silver has tarnished to a blackish color. Finish on the hour hand is in better shape, but it's starting to degrade as well. They're in good structural shape, but not very eye-appealing. The back door and hinges are in good shape. Install this bob and pendulum rod and see how it runs. Right off the start, I see the bob is wobbling. A clock with a wobbling bob will never keep a good rate of time. Source of the wobble will need to be found and corrected. It's coming from the suspension spring. One side of the suspension spring is broken. The bob is made from low-grade pot metal, and it's beginning to implode. There's splits and cracks appearing at all the stress points on it. Rough shape, but it's still functional. These two mounting hooks are twisted. If left like this, the bob will be sitting twisted. It'll need to be corrected. Lots of checks and cracks in this bob. There was no quality control or distinct percent of alloy mix on pot metal. It's just a mix of any low-temperature metals, so it's a mystery of what is actually in it. This bottom slot is designed for a different style of adjusting knob. Pull the movement out. There was something mounted here at one time. Looks like possibly a mounting hole was put here after the case was finished. Model number is a W200. Junghans trademark. Manufacture date of July 1951. 186 signifies the distance from the suspension spring upper mount to the center of the bob. Lacquer finish is missing here, and the exposed brass is oxidizing. Someone left a fingerprint here years ago. It's eaten past the protective finish and has etched into the brass. Oil on this pivot has thickened to a grease. These brown flakes, they're from the finish on the inside of the case that's fallen off. Dried pivot oil. Dust and dirt particles laying on the plate here and there. Some oil left in this pivot. More dirt and debris. Definitely time to service this movement. Let the power off the mainsprings. Clicks. Locking clips holding the barrel arbors in. Mainspring arbors. Mainspring barrels. Suspension spring taper pin. Suspension spring. This can be repaired, but much quicker to replace it. As long as the same thickness, length, and width is used, timing will not be affected. An exact fit. Wash these with detergent, some silver polish, a little pitted, but came out nice and match each other now. Movement is all cleaned and oiled and time to install and get it timed. The hands don't have any old yellowed lacquer on them, but are more appealing now. The new suspension spring has eliminated the wobbling bob. It's swinging nice and true now. Test the hammers. Clock is keeping perfect time, but only if the bob is located here where these black lines are on the pendulum rod. The threaded part of the pendulum rod ends up being up inside the bob. The pendulum rod needs to be longer. It's about 1/4 inch too short. For joining this pendulum rod extension, I decided to use a cold joint. so I machined the joint with an interference fit. For pressing the extension to its finished position, I'll be using a Steffens parallel vise. They sold for about $5 when new, made for clockmakers, machinists, and gun makers, and were fabricated in the Colt Gun Armory building in Hartford, Connecticut. They had several options and attachments, were nickel-plated, and of high quality. Over 150 years old and still works nice and smooth. For the interference fit to grab with some teeth, I'll put some rubbing compound on the surfaces. Some paper to protect the brass. Now to press it home. These are great little fast-acting vices. The brass round extension is too large to slide into the bob square. I'll need to hand work it slightly to match the square of the original. This paper will protect the original square piece from getting scarred up from the stone. Looking good so far. Perfect fit. Another fit test. Good. Pendulum rod clears the bottom of the case, and the top of the bob is even with the black index mark on the pendulum rod. Now to modify the bob so the adjusting nut will nest into it. Just needs a small amount of pot metal removed. This mylar will keep the file from putting tool marks on the area of the bob not being cut. Perfect fit. Works great now. I was able to find a period Junghans play card for the rear door. It's written in Dutch from the Dutch Association of Watchmakers and the Dutch RK Association of Watchmakers and Traders in Timepieces, Gold, Silver, and Optics. They're recognizing Junghans as being of excellent quality. Junghans Mantle clocks came originally with these play cards glued to the back side of the door. Sure nice sounding chimes on this model.